This program is funded in part by Arkansas Rotarians, whose motto is Service Above Self.
It's a growing trend among junior high kids.
12 years old, 14.
They're out for a good time and they think that this is a good way and a cheap way to get it.
1 in 5 teens are using prescription drugs.
You can have a problem right in your own home and not know about it.
There's a high risk of them ODing and dying from it.
Kids are stealing the medicines from their family members and then taking them to school and selling them.
70% of the drugs that are abused are coming from our homes.
The only thing that they know that you can steal that's worth more money after you steal it is pills.
$40 for one pill.
We do have a tremendous problem.
We're seeing it because they're dying out there.
Many of these drug overdoses are occurring in younger kids.
And that's the unfortunate part of it all. They don't wake up.
They're too easy to get.
Kind of like playing Russian roulette.
Abuse by teenagers of prescription medications in Arkansas is a huge problem, and it's killing a lot of our kids.
A fact Gary Speed knows all too well. Gary's only son died of an accidental prescription drug overdose. Albert Speed's childhood was idyllic, filled with high-adventure scouting trips, rock climbing, caving, and backpacking. Impressive academics pointed to a promising future in engineering, but Albert started pulling away from the close relationship he shared with his father when he began using prescription drugs recreationally. A deadly mixture of Xanax and methadone shut down Albert's respiratory system. He was 17.
I never thought that my son, if he had a problem with drugs, he might get picked up and arrested, and that might be a black mark on his record in life. But I never comprehended the possibility of him dying of a drug overdose.
Albert Speed is the face of many bright and talented students who have died accidentally while experimenting with prescription drugs. It's not known where Albert got the drugs that killed him, but in all probability it was similar to the way recovering addict Micah Galbraith did.
First time I tried prescription drugs was probably 15. Went to her medicine cabinet and started taking some. At least from my point of view, prescription medications they're too easy to get.
Stories like Micah's and Albert's are coupled with alarming statistics. 70% of the drugs abused by teenagers are coming from our own homes. Our state leads the nation in teen pain medication abuse. Prescription drug abuse is rapidly increasing in the earlier grades and at a rate even faster than alcohol and tobacco abuse. And 1 out of 5 high school students has taken a prescription drug without it being prescribed by a physician.
Kids that have so much potential, so much opportunity. And this has taken hold of the entire family's life and has resulted ultimately in their own death.
At Arkansas Children's Hospital, more and more kids are coming into the emergency room with overdoses.
13 and 14 and 15-year-olds, whereas 7 or 8 years ago it seemed like they were the older kids. So I think there's a trend here for us to see younger kids. We've kind of shifted in our society from drugs like cocaine and marijuana and heroin, drugs that you can find on the street, to where now prescription drugs are more the problem.
If there's any suspicious death, unintended death on a young person, drug overdoses, we actually do the autopsies here at the crime lab. They're out for a good time and they think that this is a good way and a cheap way to get it. Unfortunately, we're seeing it because they're dying out there.
A controlled substance is going to be any type of medication or drug that has a potential for abuse, that someone would abuse it and potentially even become addicted to it and have a dependency on that drug. Pain medicine, muscle relaxers, things along those lines. Some even seizure medications and diet medications.
John Kirtley's board oversees those who are filling prescriptions in Arkansas. He says addiction has resulted in stiffer requirements and background checks for all pharmacists and employees to discourage the lucrative business of stealing and dealing pills.
So you can work for an entire week, report in that you've got 40 hours of work times whatever your pay is, or you can steal one 500-count bottle of pills, and it may be $5,000, $10,000, or $20,000 right there in the palm of your hand at one time.
And juvenile judge Stacy Zimmerman says it is not uncommon to see adolescents selling drugs.
Kids are stealing the medicines from their family members and then taking them to school and selling them. And then the juvenile is faced with criminal charges for selling and distributing illegal drugs at school. And that's becoming a widespread problem.
All rise. Fourth Division Circuit Court is now in session. All Judge Governor's dining.
Kids who begin using prescription drugs recreationally often end up here as an adult with an addiction and criminal charges. Judge Marianne Gunn presides over one of the most successful drug courts in the nation, which combines extensive treatment and stiff consequences for those who don't work her program.
We have 25% of the current participants in drug court that are addicted to prescription drugs. And they're adults, 30 and 40 years old, that are coming into drug court addicted to Adderall, who started when they were 8 years old from the prescription from their physician, who I'm sure was treating a legitimate problem at the time, but it started that course of conduct at a very young age.
How old are you guys?
Gunn has launched her own effort to divert children from venturing down the dangerous road of drug abuse by taking her drug court into the public schools.
You have been using alcohol and marijuana since you were 12 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not a scared straight program. It's a reality program. It's true. Here's what's going to happen if you think you're having fun or hanging around with the wrong people. Here's what can happen to you. And I think that when we ask the children how many have used alcohol or smoked marijuana or used prescription drugs, all the hands go up.
2009, Benton, Arkansas. Law enforcement officials were confronted with a shocking truth. 30 kids and young adults died of prescription drug overdoses in just 1 year.
A local businessman, his business is making gravestones, came to us and said that he was tired of making gravestones for families for these kids that were abusing prescription drugs. We were used to marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamine, but we weren't used to dealing with prescription pills.
Chief Lane took action, calling together civic and church leaders, school officials, and Benton residents. They began first with a survey.
There was a lot of peer pressure at their age group to use it, and it was out there and it was available. And the other key factor that I saw in the survey was the fact that they said the reason they were getting away with it is because the police and their teachers and their parents didn't know enough about it.
The tide turned when a series of pamphlets was mass distributed throughout the city, giving pharmaceutical and street names for commonly abused drugs. Everyone in Benton was urged to secure their medications and to properly dispose of those that were no longer needed. Benton PD also installed a 24-hour secured drop box for prescription medications and organized their own successful drug takeback. Because a community stood together, things began to change in Benton.
I think the value of this program to me was the fact in 2010 that we had cut the deaths in Saline County in half.
Fran Fleener is Arkansas's drug director. She's given top priority to the problem of prescription drug abuse.
If we can just limit access to young people to prescription drugs, if about 2/3 of them report to us that they are getting them from friends and family and out of their own medicine cabinets, then we can make a difference. We can make a difference.
At the top of Fleener's to-do list was to coordinate a state prescription drug take-back campaign, which would coordinate with a national effort. She called on law enforcement, pharmacists, Rotarians, and others in the state to help. With more than 200 collection sites, Arkansas responded.
In a 4-hour period on one Saturday when the Razorbacks were playing, we took in almost 3 tons of unused and unwanted medication. Our state crime lab estimated that number at somewhere between 7 and 9 million pills in one 4-hour period.
State and local leaders are equally committed to future drug takebacks, with good reason. They allow Arkansans to get rid of unwanted medications, keeping drugs out of the hands of adolescents or others who might try to steal, sell, or misuse them. And drugs collected in the takeback are disposed of properly. Proper security and disposal are key components to the takeback. With authorities collecting and securing the drugs at their own sites around the state, Arkansas National Guardsmen then escorted and transported them. An estimated 500 barrels were loaded and trucked to Clean Harbors Environmental Services in El Dorado, which donated all incineration services. Experts say incineration is the best option for disposal of dangerous drugs. Throwing them in the trash pollutes our landfills, and flushing them pollutes our water supplies. The last Arkansas drug takeback kept an estimated 7 to 9 million pills out of our landfills and out of our clean water. We do have a problem in Arkansas, but each one of us can be part of the solution. Here's what we can do. In our communities, we can bring the problem out into the open, spread the word about prescription drug abuse in our civic clubs, church groups, schools, or youth groups. You and I can support, volunteer, and participate in prescription drug takebacks in our community or county. If there's not a takeback within our community, we can help initiate one. And if we don't yet have one, we can talk with our local officials about a 24-hour secure drug drop box. If our doctor prescribes pain medication for us or our family members, we can ask for non-narcotic, non-addictive alternatives. And in our homes, we can be intentional about hiding and securing all prescription medications. We can make sure that we properly dispose of drugs. We won't throw them into the trash or flush them. We can talk with our children and grandchildren about the deadly consequences of drug abuse, and that experimenting with prescription drugs is not only illegal, it's not safe. And you might want to thank your legislators who passed Senate Bill 345. The new law will allow Arkansas physicians and pharmacists to monitor the prescribing and dispensing of addictive drugs through a state health department database. We do have a problem, but we all can make a difference in Arkansas.